from patreon.com/Jobble, automating things with AI. So I did a poll in the Patreon channel about which topics I should do a future video on, and one of the top voted for results with 2 votes was automating things with AI. And I think that could be a good one to talk about because I think AI can be really useful if you use it in the right type of context. I wouldn't advise putting AI in charge of any business decisions, really. And I wouldn't have it write any public-facing content without you fully editing it first. And I wouldn't have it answer any support queries from customers or anything like that. But what AI is really good at is automating simple jobs. So I'm going to run through a few examples that I've just gone through in Claude, which is my favorite AI model because it's particularly good for coding and stuff. But really, the stuff I'm talking about here will work on any kind of modern frontier, as they call them, AI model like ChatGPT or Claude or Google's one, Gemini or wherever. So these are some things that I think could be useful to an average small business trying to manage their own website. And I'll go through them in reverse order. So first up, we've got sitemap meta description audit. So I'll go up to the top of this page. This is the full history of the chat here with Claude. And I started it by saying, fetch the sitemap at https://jobble.com/sitemap.xml and scan the URLs within and tell me whether they have adequate meta descriptions and/or titles. So the one fiddly bit of this that I had to do was know what my sitemap URL is. A sitemap basically is a document that tells search engines where every page on your website is. For nearly every website, it's your domain name /sitemap.xml if you have one. If you've got a website from me, or a Bounce Castle Network website, or a WordPress website, or a Wix one, or probably any of the big providers, it's probably yourdomainname.com/sitemap.xml. So I told Claude there to fetch the sitemap, which contains all of the URLs for every page on the website, and scan them all and tell me whether the meta descriptions and titles are any good. And then we can see the Claude went away here and fetched the sitemap, and it checked a few samples of the URLs to analyze the meta descriptions and titles. Started with the homepage and a few key pages. So we got the homepage, the about page, services page. Then it got a prices page, and it got a page on a guide about how to make a website for a tattooist, which is kind of a strange choice. Then it got an example page. Then it ran a tool over these to analyze them and pull out the meta descriptions and titles. So you don't actually have to know about the code here, because Claude will run the code itself that it's written. As you'll see here, it just carried on without me getting involved. And then it also did a bit of a research, strangely, into what makes a good meta description and title in 2025. And then it analyzed the pages that it checked in regards to this data that it found about meta titles and meta description best practices. And it tells me that the website has got title tags for all the pages are checked, which is good. The titles are generally descriptive and relevant to page content, concise, most are under 60 characters, clear about what the page offers. And some examples: my homepage, web and software design and PressSwitch, about Jobble, services, web design and technology services, prices, web development prices. 2, meta descriptions. Based on my analysis, the website appears to lack meta descriptions on the pages I examined. So I should figure out why that is, because I did expect there to be meta descriptions in there. So it could be that the tool is wrong, but it could be that it's right and those pages don't have meta descriptions and I need to figure out what's going on. And then it's got the issues identified, the missing meta descriptions, most significant SEO issue. I think it might be mistaken about this, but I'll dig into it straight after. And then it's suggesting title tag optimizations, saying that while the titles are functional, they could be enhanced. The homepage title, web and software design and PressSwitch, could include more keywords. Example pages like Avo Coffee could be more descriptive, e.g. Avo Coffee, vegan cafe website design case study. It's not actually a vegan cafe, but okay, I get you. Guide titles are good, but could include year, date for freshness signals. And it's giving me some recommendations here to add meta descriptions to each page. It's giving me some examples, which I could choose to use or not. It's telling me that it wants me to enhance the title tags by adding location keywords, adding primary service keywords, adding the date 2025 to guides for freshness, keeping the title tag under 60 characters. And then it's telling me about a technical implementation of how to actually add the meta description. So forgive me if we kind of get into the weeds of what Claude's talking about here. But the gist is, I hope you get that it's given me some quite detailed instructions on how to improve the meta titles and meta descriptions on my site for a few pages. And all I had to do was give it the sitemap and tell it that I wanted to improve the meta titles and meta descriptions. And it went from there and found the various URLs and analyzed a whole bunch of them. That would have been quite a time-consuming process for a person to do manually. And the key bit really was that it can analyze the sitemap as the first step. And then inside that sitemap, it contains a bunch of URLs. And then it digs into each of those URLs. So it can, from one step, branch out into a whole load of smaller jobs. Hope this is making sense. Okay, the next example. I made a project in Claude called Text Tidier, and I've given it a prompt to start with that says, I will paste messages that I'm about to send to my customers. You will rewrite them to be full sentences, friendly, concise, and written with a slight Northern English dialect. So what this is going to allow me to do is to really quickly throw together a message to a customer and have Claude rewrite it to be friendlier, full sentences, proper grammar, proper spelling. You get the idea. And then the example that I tried was scheduling availability. So let's say someone's got in touch and asked when something is available or when you're available. And your response might be, not available Saturday, but Sunday, Monday, Tuesday are okay. And then because I've prompted Claude with this idea that it's going to tidy my text and make it into full sentences, Claude just replies straight away with, I'm afraid I'm not available on Saturday, but I can do Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday if any of those work for you. So, a friendlier sentence that you can send on to the customer. If you tend to be the kind of person who writes, quite shorthand, using AI to make your sentences a bit more grammatically correct could be really handy. Okay, next example. I made another project, and the prompt that I put is, I'm going to paste URLs to my website to you, and I want you to search for other websites that target those terms and tell me how my website compares in terms of addressing searcher intent and what I could possibly do to make my site more useful. So the idea here is that Claude is going to analyze pages on my website and then tell me how I can make the pages better target the kind of things that people are Googling for, the searcher intent. And then for the first example, I gave it my static websites page, which is a page on my site that talks about me making a static website for you. So Claude sets off with, I'll analyze it and compare it with the competitors. So it fetches my page. Then it searches for static website development services, gets a whole bunch of those pages, 10 results here, then digs in a bit more into static site generators and Eleventy, and then looks into the Pages CMS editor, which I mentioned. And then once Claude has researched a whole bunch of things to do with my static website services page, it gives me a report on how my website compares, which tells me the strengths of my approach, which is that I'm being transparent, that I'm using modern technology, that I've got local support, that I'm educating people, that I'm using a modern CMS. And it goes into detail about each of these as well. And then it tells me on areas where my competitors excel. So visual presentation, this is true. Many competitors showcase their work with prominent portfolios, testimonials, and visual demonstrations of their capabilities. Your examples are text links rather than visual showcases. It's very true. I could definitely do with improving the visual presentation of that page. SEO and marketing services. Competitors like Skynet and Nibble Software, who I've never heard of, emphasize SEO services and search engine rankings more prominently in their offerings. So that's a good point. My page doesn't really mention that static websites are quite SEO friendly. Broader service positioning. Webflow markets itself as enabling stunning websites quickly with AI assistance and visual design tools, appealing to a wider audience. So maybe that's the thing that I could mention. I've got a theme editor for my websites. I don't mention it on that page. Performance metrics. Competitors highlight that Eleventy is one of the fastest generators and emphasize speed benefits more prominently. I'm not too sure anyone's too bothered about how long the site takes to generate, but yeah, okay, fair point. It gives me some recommendations to improve my page, enhancing the visual appeal, strengthening the value position, improving the content structure, expanding the technical credibility, addressing common concerns, enhancing the SEO content, improving call to actions, leveraging social proof, modernizing the offering, differentiating your services. So there's tons of points here to get into. Now, obviously, just because AI has suggested something here doesn't mean that, I necessarily have to pay any attention to AI suggestion. AI is wrong pretty often. But if you take it as being 75% decent enough suggestions, and you could ignore the other 25%, that means there's probably still some pretty good stuff in here that could help improve this page. And I will take some of these ideas on board. I analyzed this page because I knew it was one that was kind of rushed on my site. Okay, another example. So here is a really simple query that you could ask AI. I run a face painting business. Research which characters from kids' movies are big in 2025 and which I should display examples of on my social media. If you're like me, you might be totally clueless about what kids' movies are popular nowadays. AI can do the work of doing loads of Google searches and compiling those results, and then drawing trends from them and summarizing those here. So here, Claude set off with, I'll help you identify the most kids' movie characters for 2025 that would be great for your face painting business. And it did a bunch of searches on Google, and then it came back with top movie characters for 2025. And then we've got Minecraft characters, Steve Creeper, Paddington Bear, Lilo and Stitch, How to Train Your Dragon, Dogman from Captain Underpants, Snow White and the Evil Queen, Zootopia characters, the Smurfs, the Bad Guys, too. I don't know who the Bad Guys is. Elio, Pixar, for about a space living boy. And there's some evergreen popular face paint characters. Like they tell me a whole bunch of face painting characters that are always popular. And then a whole bunch of social media strategy recommendations as well that I didn't even ask for. So you can see here that just from a pretty sort of simple prompt, AI has given us, again, a load of suggestions, which maybe we'll take with a pinch of salt, but will help us brainstorm ideas for how we could post on our social media page about characters that we can do face painting for. Okay, I hope this has given you some ideas. It felt a little bit like it was all over the place really, but that often feels like the case. So I pay for premium version of Claude because I use it quite a lot for programming stuff, but you'll be able to get similar results to this with the free versions of AI. But if you use it a lot, it might be worth paying for whatever the lowest tier of the pro version is, because hitting the rate limits when you're in the middle of using it to do some automation is a real pain. Okay, I hope this was useful. As ever, any questions, please drop me a message, or any ideas for future videos, please leave a comment. Cheers.